Thank you, Pastor. This morning, I would like to direct your attention to the book of Ephesians, chapter number 6 and verse number 1. Thank you, dear Pastor, for giving me this Sunday school hour to deal with a subject that will or has affected all of us that are here today. I must say, to some extent, what I'm dealing with this morning is a little bit humiliating to me. It's humiliating in the fact that I am going to have to confess to you some of the faults and failures and shortcomings that I have made in my own personal life in being a father. I want to read Ephesians chapter number 6 and verse number 1 is where I'll begin. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. In verse 2, you're to honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise. What is the promise of honoring your father and mother? That it may be well with thee. Now, I want you young people to understand that terminology. The word well means a smooth life. God says you want an easy road in life, you want me to smooth out the rough areas, then you honor your father and your mother, that it may be well with thee. And here's the second promise, that thou may livest, that you might live long on the earth. Now, here's the commandment that children are to obey their parents in verse 1. You obey your parents when you're at home. You honor them in verse 2 after you leave home. And God said, I make a promise to you, if you will do that, I will give you longevity of life and a smooth life for honoring those in authority over you. Now, us as parents have no problem believing that and accepting it. But verse 4, God turns the table around. And he says, I want to talk to the fathers. I want you to notice in the context of the scripture, men, he never does talk to the mothers. Because the home and the rearing and training of the children is not the responsibility of the wife. It falls into the responsibility of the father. At the judgment seat of Christ, your wife is not going to be held accountable for the training of your children. We as fathers are going to be held accountable. The Bible said that the wife can guide the home. In other words, she's to keep it in the same direction when the husband's gone as he wants it to be when he's present or at home. So in verse 4, God now deals with the fathers. And he said, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Now, I don't know about you, but most preaching that I've heard deals with the positive aspect of verse 4. Bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. That is the good side. That is the positive side. That is the right side. But what I want you to notice is God deals with the negative before he ever presents the positive. He said, there's something I don't want you to do. I don't want you to provoke your children to anger. Now, Brother Buddy, what we don't like to admit as fathers and as parents is that there is a positive side to raising children, but there is also a negative side to raising children. Everywhere I go, I've always tried to get every bit of information I could possibly get on the home. And here's why. I had 4 children. We had 4 children back to back, my wife and I. 4 of them. We had 4 teenagers at one time. And I realized that you only have one shot with your kids. It's not a chalkboard where you erase your mistakes and start all over again. So I wanted to give it my best. In doing so, God showed me some things that were profitable. But God also showed me some mistakes I made that was probably unprofitable and unbeneficial to their future. But what bothers me is it seems like every book I get, every tape I listen to, every time I hear somebody address the issue of the home, what has become offensive to me is we only present the strong areas or the positive things that we produce or the good things that we've done in our home. But it seems like it's far and few between that you find a preacher that's honest enough to tell you some of the mistakes that he's made in his home. I want to do that today. I want to preach this morning on the subject, don't do as I did. I want to give you some major mistakes I've made in my home. Now let me say on the forefront, I thank God that in spite of me, all of my children today are in church. They're grown. Both of my boys are businessmen. My daughter's playing the piano right now. My son's teaching Sunday school right now. My other son's playing the bass and singing in the choir and singing specials. My other son-in-law is teaching Sunday school, and him and my daughter are in charge of the young married couples. They're not just going to church, they're involved in church, and I want to thank God that in spite of me, they still have a desire to serve the Lord. But I want to show you some mistakes I've made. Let me tell you why I made so many mistakes with my children. First of all, I ran into a real problem after getting saved. And that problem was my wife and I both are first-generation Christians. Now, the problem with that is I can't glean from the home I was raised in to make my home a better home because my daddy was a drunk. We couldn't glean from the home my wife was raised in because her mother and father are both college graduates and educators and principals, and they were very humanistic in their philosophy. So when my wife and I got married, we had no Christian foundation that we can glean from. What I'm trying to say is we started off with nothing. We had nobody to look to and say, hey, we were taught this, so it's right. So we had that problem to deal with. Second of all, when my wife and I got married and started having children, nobody wrote any kind of books or gave much helpful information on the home. When we went to the bookstore and you looked for something on the home outside of the evangelicals and the liberals, you found no fundamental Bible-believing preacher giving any kind of suggestion or guideline on how to raise children. The third problem we had with trying to get information on raising our children was most of the men that were preaching to us had lost their children. So they felt ashamed, hindered, and embarrassed to deal with the subject because the devil beat them to death and said, look, you can't even salvage your own kids. How are you going to help somebody else salvage theirs? So the issue of dealing with the home and the children became a very silent issue in our fundamental pulpit, and now we've got a bigger mess than ever with the teenagers that are in our church. So today I'd like to swallow my pride and humble myself before you, God, and thousands of people that will listen to this tape. And I would like to say that I pray to God that He will benefit, that you will benefit from some of the mistakes that I've made, and use these and adapt these into the life of your children while there's still time. Here are some of the mistakes that I've made with my children. Please don't do as I did. Number one, don't take out life's frustrations on your children. Don't take out life's frustrations on your children. Let me illustrate. You ever had a bad day at work? All day long, you're at that point where if it's just one little something else goes wrong, or somebody is in danger of being hurt, yelled at, pushed, shoved, beat, stomped, and even strangled to death. So you come home from work with all the anxieties of the day. But you understand, your children don't know that you and the boss have had a fight. They don't know that the computer's been locked down all day. They don't know that somebody bumped your car in the parking lot. They don't know that you've been in a bad mood and breakfast wasn't right and somebody stole your dinner and you had a flat when you got off work. They don't know that all these anxieties have been building up on you all day. But by the grace of God, you've kept them in. And you've not exploded, and you've not made a fool out of yourself, and you've not embarrassed yourself in front of the men and the ladies that you work with. But then you come home to innocent children that have no earthly idea what you've been through. And the first little thing they do or say that does not fit perfection, all of a sudden, all the frustrations and anxieties of that day, boom, they blow up within your heart and mind. And guess what we do? We take out all the frustrations of every area of our life on our children. I do not think we realize the devastation, the hurt, and the long-term effect that has on our children. Because what they see is you coming home and them doing some little something that sets you off. So all of a sudden, it brings a distance and a division in the relationship They don't want you to get mad. They don't want you to blow up. They don't want to offend you. So what do? They leave you alone. And let me tell you something. More than having a job and more than making money and more than getting to the top of the ladder, you're a father first. And it's not fair that you take the anxieties of a secular world and take out your frustration and your outlet on a little child that God gave you to bring up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. Don't take out your frustrations on your kids. Have you ever done that? Sure you have, you liar. Don't get smart with me. I'll let your wife testify. It's an easy out to blow up on your kids. And may God help us by the grace of God to never, 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 ever take secular problems and take those anxieties out on little children. Number 2, don't transfer one child's misbehavior to the rest of the children. Let me illustrate. Say, Brother Mays, you have 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys. Say all day long, Eli's been a problem. That's probably the norm. Say Brother Eli has just pushed you and you've had to repeat yourself and he's dragging along. He has no goal in his life. He has nothing to do that day. You ask him to take the garbage out. He acts like you're wanting to donate a kidney, and he's just pushed you to that limit. And kids will do that. They'll push you to the edge and then just let you hang there all day. And so there you are. You're on the edge, and it's all Eli. He's just been that kind of kid that day, and then all of a sudden, one of the other children that has done nothing to frustrate you or to push you that day says or does a little something that may not be proper or appropriate at the time. And what we do is we take the frustration of Eli and we transfer it over to the other children, and the next thing you know, we explode, we even paddle them, we even punish them over something that really doesn't deserve that severe of a judgment. But the reason why we have done that is we've transferred the anxieties of Eli to the other children and said, well, I'll just put it to you this way. Bless God, if you push me over the limit, I'll just whoop all of you. But let me tell you something. That's not fair to your children. Let's use that in the respect of God. What if God treated us that way? What if in the church there's 3 of you not right with God, you're rebels, you won't do what's right, you won't submit to God, the rest of the church wants to do right, they love Jesus, they're trying to obey the word, but God judges the whole church because 3 rebels in the church won't get right. You couldn't imagine God dealing with his children that way. If that be so, we'd all be beaten by God every day because of somebody or another. But God takes us as individuals and applies that long suffering and that judgment and that chastisement and that discernment. He does it to us as individuals. We ought to have that same wisdom with our children. I never wanted my daughters to push me to the point where I wanted to whip my sons to get rid of the anxieties of my heart. You keep their discipline separate. And if one's pushing you, by the way, I don't think you ought to let children push you anyway. You know where my limit is? Here. You try pushing me from here, I'm going to deal with you right here. Don't shove me to the edge and then tempt me and keep me tore up all day. I'm not going to let a 12-year-old kid dictate my life and tell me what kind of attitude and atmosphere is going to be in my home. I'm not. You try moving me from here, and I'm going to deal with you right here. Now, if we do that, then we can keep our children separate when it comes to discipline. I've made that mistake many times. Number 3. Don't take it for granted that your children know and understand all your rules and regulations. See, here's what happens when you, and by the way, could you turn the heat off, please? It is so stinking hot in this sorry building. My God, Brother Mays, I never seen a pastor want to microwave his people so bad in my life. You know, when you have more than one child, you teach the older child all the rules and regulations. And once the oldest child has adapted, understood, and conformed to the rules, sometimes as parents it's easy to take for granted that, hey, since the oldest one knows it, the other ones ought to know it as well. See, after you have one child, you got a problem. You have to start dividing your time. Eli is your oldest, is that right, Brother Mays? Let me tell you something, when you only have one child, you know what it is? It's your first child. They're spoiled. You focus all your attention on them. You don't want anybody touching them. You don't want anybody holding them. You bring them to church, you spray them with Lysol because everybody's got cooties. You don't want nobody holding your kid. You're very particular. In the middle of the summer, you still put insulated underwear on them because you don't want them to get a cold. After 4 or 5, you'll let them play in the snow naked. It don't matter anymore. But the first one's different. They've got your undivided attention. That's the only child you got. But when you have 2 or 3, guess what? Now you have to start dividing your time among the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So you know what that means? That means probably, Brother Mays, you have more time invested in Eli than you do your other 3 children. It's just a normal fact of life. Where you have 4, you have to divide the time to the 4. Where you have 1, you just have the 1 you have to deal with. So there's no doubt in my mind that our oldest children learned our rules and regulations quicker than the rest of them because we had more time to invest in them. And sometimes we say to ourselves, well, when Eli was that age, he knew all the rules and regulations. Sure he did. But you spent 3 times as much time with him teaching them to him as well. Right? And we take for granted, well, I tell you one thing, he ought to know better. I've said that. I've told him before, and that wasn't right. Now, next something. Has God ever had to tell you something more than one time before it really settled in on you? Sure. I mean, seriously, you think about if God treated us like we do our kids. My God, we'd all be in intensive care this morning. We say, okay, I told them that one time. Now, brother, you better mark it in blood. You better tattoo it on your body, because if you ever forget it, it's Judgment Day. I'm going to tell you something, Brother Christopher. God's had to deal with me about stuff many times before it really sunk in, hey, this is what's best for my life. Don't take for granted that your 4-year-old knows as much as your 10-year-old. That's not fair to your 4-year-old. And what will happen is they'll start despising one another. You'll start provoking anger among your children, not necessarily between parent and child, but it can provoke anger to the children. For instance, Brother Mays, what would your daughter sitting next to you feel like if every time she does something wrong, you say, well, Eli's never done that since I told him that. Eli knows better than this. I would say something, he ain't never done this. Like I told you, I would say something, you just be like Eli. Now let me tell you what's going to happen. After a while, she's going to say, I wish Eli would just drop dead. Why don't Eli shut up and get out of my life? And you know what you've got? You've got friction among your children. Right? Because you take for granted that all of them know all of your rules. And I'll tell you something else that falls into that same category that's very dangerous. I'm talking about mistakes I made. You understand? I'm not telling you stuff I read out of a book. I'm talking about mistakes I've made. One of the greatest mistakes we'll ever make in our home is allow your older children to be the parents to your younger children. People come to me all the time and say, well, how many kids should you have? The Bible says, blessed is the man whose quiver is full. Fill your quiver. I don't give a flip how big your quiver is. But I tell you, when I know your quiver is full, is when you're so busy that you can't be a mama to all your children. Right? If you think it's the will of God for you to take your babies and pack them off on your older children because you don't have time and responsibility to be a mother, I don't believe a word of that. When you cannot be a mother and a father to your children, then you've got all the responsibilities you can handle. We had a man in our church that had 13 kids. He's the same age as I am. They had 13 kids, 9 months, 2 weeks apart. Pow, pow, pow. Didn't bother me at all. I could care less if we had 130. But what bothered me was the older girls never had an opportunity to be a teenager. They never had an opportunity to grow up because they were having to be a mama to the last of the children. I'm going to tell you, that's not fair. First of all, when those girls get married and get out, they will go through those adolescent years all over again. They'll become very immature young wives because they never had a chance to grow up. Second of all, the younger children will hate the older children because I'm sick of you trying to be the boss. You're not my mama. And it provokes anger and division among the family and even among the children. It was hard on me to learn, having 4 children back to back, that Paul, being 4, couldn't understand what Cassandra already knew, being 8 or 9. And what we have to do, Brother Mays, is we have to take the time to train each one of them as an individual. Right. You take a drill instructor. What are you going to do with a drill instructor when a bunch of comrades get off a bus and they just joined the military, and a drill instructor says this, I'm not teaching you suckers anything. I just got done teaching that crowd for 13 weeks. You learn from that crowd, and anytime you disobey me, I'm going to beat the devil out of you. You can't expect these new men that are just coming in to know what those you've just trained for 13 weeks, day and night. That's not fair to either side. And so it is with our children. We've got to make sure when we institute a rule or regulation of obedience in our home, we have to make sure that they understand exactly what that rule is and why it's being enforced. You ever made that mistake? Number 4, punishment or correction must be done right. I guess if we would take the plastic off and be honest today, this is probably one of the most fragile, misused areas that we've had in our homes, is this thing about correcting our children. Do I believe in corporal punishment? Absolutely. The Bible teaches it. And the Bible tells us all through the Word of God that correcting your children is acceptable in the sight of God. But we also must understand that the correction must be done properly. The punishment being instituted properly is just as important as the punishment at all in the sight of God. Let me illustrate. When we correct our children, I believe there's a proper area to correct your child. I do not believe God expects us to chase our children through the house with a paddle or a belt or a piece of PVC pipe and just hit our children anywhere it lands. I think that's very disrespectful to the child. God has given a proper place and a proper area on the body, the anatomy of that child to be corrected. According to the Scripture, according to medical science, according to anything you want to read, I can prove to you that God instituted that a child be corrected in the buttocks area. There's no doubt in my mind. But how many times, out of frustration, have we grabbed them by the shirt and jerked them? How many times do you ever say, get over here and just grab their shirt and jerk them? Wouldn't it be something if God treated us that way? I wonder how many times you've been sitting there and during the course of the conversation, that kid just kept pushing you, and instead of taking them in the room and dealing with this thing in the proper way, I wonder how many times we just grabbed them by the throat and said, look, you're going to shut up or I'm going to choke you. You're not going to do that here. Grab your kid by the throat. I wonder with homes like me that I was raised in where daddy beat me with a belt buckle on the end loose. I know what it's like not to be able to go to school because of a black eye and a busted lip, and they were afraid that the social service would come. That's the kind of life I had to live as a boy. I know what I'm talking about. I know what it is to be jerked up in the middle of the night by the hair of the head and beat with a belt because of a drunk daddy in a bad mood, and I don't even know what's going on. I've been there. But how many times, men and women, out of frustration, and the moment we do it, we know it ain't right, but how many times just out of frustration, you're talking to your child, and maybe the child's just trying to be inquisitive, but maybe we think it's a talk back, and all of a sudden, instead of correcting properly, smack. You ever smacked your child? Have you ever grabbed your child by the clothes and jerked them out in public? You know what kind of benefit you're giving your children by humiliating them publicly? None. I believe every parent ought to take their child off in a private area, and the correction and the institution ought to be done in private. When God judged Jesus on the cross, you know what he did? He turned the lights out and the sun went dark. It was pitch black on Calvary. And when God smote Jesus on the cross, he did it in the dark. He said, I may whip my son, but I'm going to do it privately. If God illustrated doing that with Jesus, we ought to be able and willing to do the same thing with ours. You ever pull your kid's hair? I can't tell you the times I've sat in church and I've watched parents reach over and grab their kid's ear and twist it. I tell you, you ever had your ear twisted? It is one of the most defaming, humiliating things because you hear 4 pews behind you go, did you see that? Now, if you think that's driving your child to godliness, you've misinterpreted the Bible. I have seen parents, this is God's truth. I've been preaching and I've heard a kid go, ouch! I mean, just scream out loud, ouch! I'm thinking, what? The mother pinched him. You know, the mother said, hey, stop it. The kid keeps playing. So the mother just reached over and pinched the plug out of him. So let me take that. That may seem even a little amusing at the time. And it may even get them to straighten up. But that's not the proper area for correction. I think all of us as parents need to ask God to forgive us for ever pulling their ear, pulling their hair, grabbing their clothes, jerking them around. There's a proper area to correct your child. Second of all, there's the proper attitude to correct your child. Many times after I disciplined my children, and because they needed the discipline, I've said to myself, I'm sure glad God don't have this attitude when he corrects me. Let me tell you something, parents. Do you correct your child because you're mad? Or do you correct your child because you love them? I think the attitude of correcting our children is just as important as the area. Number three, I think the ambition of correcting our children is very important. Why are you whipping me anyhow? Is it because I've embarrassed you in front of other people? Or is it because you have the best interest in my life? Good. I wish I had my 4 kids to raise over again and know what I know now. Because every time I ever touched one of my children in correction, I would set them down and I would say, I'm not mad at you. I want to be able to tell them I'm not doing this because I'm mad. And I'm not whipping you because you've embarrassed me. I'm whipping you because this is for your future. How many times have we whipped our kids and said, you sucker, those people saw you do that out there? Now here's what you're teaching your kid. I'm only whipping you because other people saw you. Right. Now if you'd have done this and nobody seen you, I probably wouldn't be whipping you for this. So you're going to teach your kid to be a conniver and a crook. Have the right attitude when you whip your kids. When you get done whipping them, do you ever cry? Are you crying because you had to whip them, or are you crying because you know you had the wrong attitude when you did whip them? I think there's a proper amount to whip your children. If you had to whip your son today, how would you whip him? How would you whip your son today, sir? Would you chase him through the house, grab him by the hair of the head, just beat him anywhere you want to? How many licks would you give your teenage daughter if she had to be paddled today? I think there's a proper amount. I was in a meeting some time ago, and a man come up to me and he said, I want to tell you something. You talk about us parents being sorry, not turning out good kids. I want to tell you something. I got an 18-year-old boy, and I can't tell you one stinking good thing I can say about him. And he said, I want to tell you something. I beat him with a water hose till the blood ran down his back, and I ain't ashamed to tell you that. What he told me. You know what I said to him? I said, got 2 problems with you, sir. Number one, if you can raise a boy for 18 solid years and not say one good thing about him, that's not a reflection on him. That's a reflection on you. Second of all, if I was stupid enough to beat my boy's bare back with a water hose till the blood ran down his back, I sure to God wouldn't brag on it. The boy hates him, and he hates God. Now, if that's what you want for your kids, go ahead and grab their hair, smack them in the mouth. Go ahead, spit on them. Tell them how low down and sorry, rotten they are. You wish you didn't have them. Go ahead, tell them all that. I'll tell you what they're going to do. They're going to tolerate you to their 18. They'll leave your home, and they'll hate your guts and spit in your face when they close the lid of the casket. Correcting your children properly. How many times are you going to paddle your kids anyway? I had a daughter 10 years old when Philip was probably 4. You mean to tell me that I'm going to paddle that 4-year-old boy the same amount that I would a 10-year-old girl? Somewhere you need to sit down and set a limitation. This is what I did in my home. If they were 2 years old and they disobeyed me, they got two swats with a paddle. As they got older, the severity of the punishment increased because of accountability. If they were 5 years old and they did the same thing, they got 5 licks with a paddle. Here's what I'm saying. The more knowledge you have, the more responsible you are to obey me. Same thing in the Christian life. When you first got saved, there's some things God in His long suffering may let you get by with for a while. You try doing them now, He's going to beat the socks off you. The longer you're in the family, the more accountability you have to respond to His word and the truth. I wonder how many of you parents could actually stand up today and tell me you've always punished your children correctly. Have you ever told them you were sorry when you didn't? Number 5, may I say, you can't treat all your children on the same level as the baby. Now, everybody's got a baby. Somebody's got to be the baby. And I'm going to tell you straight up, the baby is going to get by with stuff that you didn't get by with. Now, it is a fact of life, I'm telling you, that baby is a brat. I swear to you, the baby is a spoiled brat. Most babies don't even walk till they're 3 because the brothers and sisters carry them everywhere they go. They don't have to. They never learn to talk. They're always the latest learning to talk because all they do is go, and everybody runs to their rescue and gives them what they want. The baby's a brat. I know that because I'm the baby of 5 children. When Joseph wanted his father, Jacob, to come to where he was, all the other brothers came, and Jacob never left Israel. But I'm going to tell you something. When he took Benjamin, when Benjamin went, it wasn't long. Here comes Jacob. You know what Benjamin was? He was the baby. There's something about that baby. Now, parents, here's where we mess up. We know this is the last of the Mohicans. Thank God this is the caboose. This is it, buddy. We ain't having no more. It's over. And sometimes there's a mental set to do special for that one because it is the last. So now you got 2 or 3 or 4 kids that are older than this baby. But if we're not careful, you know what we do? We try to make the other children back up pages of their life and constantly have to identify with the baby. Now there's a great danger in that. It will stop the growth emotionally and spiritually and physically of your other children. When Paul was 2, I would catch myself wishing my other children were 2 again. When Paul was 3, I found myself communicating with Cassandra that was 11. I find myself wanting to talk to her as a 3-year-old. And there's a danger in that. The danger is the other kids will despise the baby. I wonder how many kids, teenagers right here today would stand and say, I'll tell you something. My younger brother and sister gets by would jump my daddy to kill me for. I can't tell you how many thousands of times I've heard that. Well, if I did that when I was a kid, daddy would have killed me. And again, resentment comes in the family. Everybody's looking at me kind of funny. Resentment comes in the family because we try to keep all the children on the same level. I've made that mistake many a time. Number 6, don't mandate your child's interests and hobbies. You know, this may sound a little funny, and I've got to hurry and close. This may sound strange, but your kids may not like what you like. I'm talking about just relaxation. Now, I love to ride a motorcycle, man. I bought my first motorcycle when I was 12 years old. I've owned one ever since. I love a motorcycle. I got 2 of them right now. I got a sport bike that I ride in the city, and I got a leisure bike that I ride over the interstate. I love a motorcycle. I could live on one the rest of my life. I love a motorcycle. So when my boys got old enough to ride, brother, and they got old enough to get their license, first thing I did is I went and bought another motorcycle. I said, man, they're going to love this. We're going to have a ball. We're all going to ride motorcycles and just love them. I'll tell you something. You can't beg them on a motorcycle. I swear, they have no desire. See, I can't tell you how many years it's been since my boys have been on a motorcycle. And sometimes I don't even think they're saved. How can you be saved and not like a motorcycle? They have no desire to ride a motorcycle. Now, when they were growing up, we always had 4-wheelers, man, and they loved turning flips and going through the mud and all that. But now my youngest boy likes golf. Unto God, I can't understand why anybody wants to hit a ball as hard as they can, knowing they got to go find it after they hit it. I'm not going golfing. How depressed. There's a big old cow pasture out there with one little hole in it. You got to get that ball. I'm not going that route. And by the way, where I hit my balls, they don't touch the ground. And going out in deep salt water and looking at a bunch of fish. I'll be honest with you, I don't like it. All you got between you and dying is this plastic tube. That's all you got. And man, I want to breathe. I like breathing through my nose. You got to breathe through your mouth, and I don't like somebody telling me how I got to breathe. But Paul loved that job, so I go snorkeling. I don't like it, so I just don't like it. Hey, I don't like it. Never have liked it. But that's his hobby. That's his interest. My older boy's the same way. His hobbies and interests are things that, as far as I'm concerned, is a total waste of time. But here's what I've noticed with parents. If you don't allow your children to enjoy some things growing up, they will go through a second adolescence after they're married. Let me illustrate. I've got a preacher friend of mine that's 35. You know what he likes to do? He's 35 years old. He's married. He's got a family. He races go-karts. Now, you know what it's like to look at a 250-pound man out on a go-kart track with 13-year-old kids. I mean, this guy looks like Humpty Dumpty, man. And he's on a go-kart track. I mean, most of the kids are 11 and 12. And they're out there, man, and they're just learning where the brake and the gas. Here's this 200-pound, 35-year-old man. And I said, my God, brother, isn't it humiliating? These kids are 11 and 12. They're beating you. They call you fatso and all that. And man, he gets in the go-kart, and his belly just hangs off both sides. I mean, it's embarrassing to even see the guy on a go-kart. But let me tell you why he's 35 years old racing with 12-year-old kids. He wanted to race go-karts all his life as a kid. And his daddy made him shoot pool. And he hates pool. He's always hated pool. But his daddy loved it. And he said, Preacher, I know it's crazy and I can't win. These little fellas weigh 35 pounds. They outrun me. But he said, I'm telling you, I've been wanting to do this since I was 12. Yeah. Let your kids have their own interests and their own hobbies. Find out what they are and enjoy them with them. Let me hurry and close. Number 7. Don't allow disappointments to be the end of the world with your children. So I said, well, I'm done with that sucker. I'm going to tell you something. I'm done with them. They've done wrong. They've disappointed me. They let me down. I'm telling you, I'm through with it. It's the end of the world. You better be glad Jesus don't treat us that way. You know what the funny thing? I heard Brother Dennis Carter say this a couple of years ago, and it's so true. He said, it's the funny thing to me, we will run the roads, wear a car out, and beat people's doors down to try to get backsliders and wicked people right with God, and our own kids disappoint us once, and we cut them off forever and don't ever want anything to do with them again. Right? Sure, your kids are going to disappoint you. Wake up! They're not perfect. I will tell you why. They come from imperfect parents. That's why. But don't let that disappointment make it the end of the world. Number 8. Don't let your love for your children appear to be conditional. What I simply mean by that is this. Don't raise your children in an atmosphere that says this: if I do right, my parents will love me. That is a conditional love. That is a very weak and sick and humanistic love. We are to love our children at all times, even when they disobey or dishonor us. Number 9. Don't mentally lock your child into a certain age. So I said, oh, they may be grown and married, but they still my baby. You ever heard a mama say that? Oh, yeah, they may be 45 and got 9 kids, but he'll always be my baby. Now, let me tell you what women will do. They will lock in a certain age bracket with their children. Men don't give a flip. The sooner they get raised and get out of our house, we love it. But women lock them in at a certain age. My oldest son got married, and I started calling him Philip. I called him Philip because all his life we called him PJ. PJ's fine when you're 9, but when you're 19, I just don't like PJ. And his real name's Philip, so I called him Philip. It just sounds more grown up, don't it? I mean, I'd like to be, he lifts weights. How'd you like to walk in a weight room all beat up and say, hey, PJ? It just don't fit, so I called him Philip. My wife says, I raised a PJ. He'll always be a PJ, yeah? He'll always be 11. Don't lock your children into a certain age bracket in your mind. Number 10, and I'm done. Don't hesitate to change something if it's in the best interest of your child. I'm simply saying this, and I'm done. Thank you for your time. So I said, well, if I change this, I'll admit to my child I'm wrong. Admit you're wrong. If it's for the benefit and the best interest of your children, don't be so, quote, big of a parent that you're too proud to make that change and adjustment for their future and their better. Now, if we do not adapt to these things, here's what's going to happen with our children. Number 1, they're going to get discouraged, according to Colossians chapter number 3. The Bible commands us as fathers not to discourage our children. Second of all, as they get older, there'll be a distance. There'll be a withdrawing effect from our children. Generation gap, they call it. Number 3, disobedience settles in. They'll begin to rebel against what you tried to teach them. Number 4, and I hate to even mention this, but it's just in passing because it's the truth. Sometimes it brings death. Right. I've seen young people commit suicide and leave a letter behind, and here's what they say. It seemed like no matter what I did, Daddy, it wasn't good enough. They killed themselves. I want a good relationship with my family. Do you? I hope some of these humiliating things that I've had to share with you will help all of us to be better parents and grandparents in the days to come. Father, thank you for the Word of God. And Lord, we've made so many mistakes as parents. It's just a miracle that any of our kids want to live for you. Forgive us for being such failures, and take these few feeble thoughts, and may those that are here today and those listening to the tape, may all of us be better parents than we've ever been. Better understanding,